All right. Hey, welcome to the Beach Brothers Show. We're three beach residents that love to interview Virginian seated politicians and Virginia candidates alike about things that will impact our beautiful state of Virginia. So, this brother right here, this beach brother loves his city so much, he's pursuing a city council seat. How crazy is that? Our friend Jose is a local business person focused on finance. If you're trying to get your money game right, definitely holler at the good brother 757 Insurance Man, our good brother Jose. And hey, I'm Seko, your local educator, entertainer, and consultant. So here's two up and two down for VA. And Jose, man, who's sponsoring tonight's show, man? Go ahead,
Tonight,
unmute yourself. Right? Yeah, who's
tonight I
sponsoring
want to
tonight?
shout out a Spanish restaurant in Virginia Beach. It's called La
I'm
Yaroa Spanish Restaurant. It's located off of Bonnie Road over next to the 7-Eleven in the Hilltop. Excuse me, not in the Hilltop, in the Bonnie Road section of Virginia Beach.
okay. Okay. All right. Good. Good. What's the best dish they have there, man?
Oh, man.
And don't say a roast con pollo. It can't be a roast con pollo. That's simple. It got
I
to be
can't
something
pick
good,
one.
man.
I can't pick one.
Gandules, you know what? Which one is it, man? It got to be something.
I'll put it this way. I go there, and every time I go there, I have a different dish, and I haven't had a dish that I don't like yet.
Excellent. Excelente. So, what's the name of that restaurant again?
It's called La Yaroa Tropic Restaurant.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Brother Conrad, man, who do we have tapping in with us today?
Well, tonight the Beach Brothers are returning home, if you will. Our special guest is Virginia Beach City Councilwoman Sabrina Wooten. And right off the bat, she's a friend. More than that, she's an adjunct professor in African American Studies at ODU. She's a chaplain with the Virginia Beach Police Department. She's CEO of Strategic Impact Services in Virginia Beach, and she represents the Centerville District on Virginia Beach's legislative body. Glad to have her on tonight to talk Virginia Beach in her 2020 election cycle. We, the Beach Brothers, would like to start off with your thoughts on Virginia Beach Council itself. What gave you the inspiration to run in 2018 special election?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm delighted to be here tonight. Thank you for the invitation. It's wonderful to be amongst Virginia Beach residents tonight and those promoting the great city of Virginia Beach. So, what inspired me? Well, I have been inspired since I was in the 9th grade, really. I always wanted to be a public servant since I visited the Virginia General Assembly as a young kid. And I patterned my life after gaining all the knowledge that I could about politics, going to ODU, where I obtained my bachelor's in political science. And then I went on to Regent University because I knew that I wanted to be a public servant. And Regent University is where they train Christian leaders and public servants. And so I obtained my degree in public administration from Regent University. In 2018, the dynamics, of Virginia Beach politics changed. Many of you know that the current mayor during that time, Mayor Sessom, stepped down. So that opened up the playing field for several candidates to run for that mayoral position. So in Centerville, of course, Mayor Bob Dyer was the council member in Centerville. And when I heard that he was stepping down, I wanted to serve in my district, Centerville. And so I decided to run.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Mr. Jose.
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. I'm not ready. Go ahead and take that question.
All right. All right. Well, speaking back on 2018, your election victory over Eric Ray and myself allowed a dynamic shift in Virginia Beach representation because Aaron Rouse also won that year for at-large city council. And Virginia Beach City Council went from a lack of minority representation to 2 out of 11. And this allowed you to be a significant voice on issues like Virginia Beach disparity. Can you touch on what the problem was, what you've been able to do, and what you'd still like to do on that matter?
So, as many of you may know, the fight for the disparity study had been going on some time before I got onto council. There was, I have to certainly talk about the members and the leaders who actually put the whole movement in process. You're talking about people like Dr. James Allen, Mr. Andrew Jackson, the deceased George Menz, also Bruce Smith, who advocated, as well as the Minority Business Council, the current Human Rights Commissioner, Sylvia Strickland, former Virginia Beach City Council member Louisa Strayhorn, and so many others fought to have a disparity study done in the city of Virginia Beach. So the fight was already there. And the issue was simply, everybody wasn't receiving a equal part of the pie. All business owners were not involved in the process of obtaining contracts with the city of Virginia Beach. And after the tireless effort of so many of those who I've already mentioned, who fought for the study, we received the results back in 2018 that said there was a clear deficit among women, minority-owned business owners, and also service-disabled veterans. And so in order to address that disparity, there are several recommendations that were put into place or suggested that the city of Virginia Beach do. And so, one of the things when I came on council, I looked at those recommendations, and the very first thing I asked council to do with a resolution was to increase the percentage of contracts, if you will, for minority-owned businesses. And it was at 10%. So the request was to increase it to 12%, which the recommendations requested. And so unanimously, Virginia Beach City Council approved that resolution. And, we moved forward with where I decided to hold one of the first disparity study forums in 2018 when I first got on council. And basically what that forum did was it disseminated the information, the disparity, the statistics, the recommendations. And then we talked with staff members in the city of Virginia Beach to ask them, what is going to be our game plan to address the disparity? And they went over a significant game plan regarding what would be done to address the disparity recommendations. And so working on that effort, the very first thing was to say, hey, let's increase that percentage. Let's get the information out to the community so that they are aware and educate them on what we're going to do so that they can hold us accountable as elected officials, city staff, or city managers so that we address the disparity. Currently, or most recently, I submitted a resolution to include all of this disparity recommendations in the resolution and to include the funding in the budget. Oh my gosh, there were several. There was a whole list. I won't be able to give you the comprehensive list, but I can tell you several of the ones that were in the resolution and are being funded in the budget for 2020. And, that was a fight, I may add, because in our budget, the city manager requested that we cut that funding to implement the recommendations. And so, I fought to say, look, we can't cut funding for the disparity study. We just approved to have all the recommendations implemented. So one of the recommendations, Seko, was to increase the percentage from 10% to 12% for minority-owned businesses. Another key effort was, or recommendation was, debundling contracts, which I understand.
That's the one. That part.
Yes. 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 And that's been, my understanding is that city staff, who has been great in this effort, because they, before I came on the scene, they've been working with the Minority Business Council to do just that, to make sure we bundle those large contracts.
I want to talk about that Minority Business Council.
Okay.
You mentioned that a couple of times in your discussion, the Minority Business Council. I know that, I'm a member of the 200 Plus Men, and we worked behind the scenes and heavily to also push the disparity study. But the Minority Business Council that you run, or that you were heavily in part of, has done a lot of great things in our city. So tell us a little bit about the Minority Business Council.
Well, the Minority Business Council, it was actually put into place, I believe it was in 2011. I could be wrong on that, but it was enacted by the mayor during that time to make sure that the city council members focused on the disparity, and they came up with healthy solutions for the council to vote on to address, the disparity study or disparity within the city, and to make sure that, we were holding our city officials accountable. The Minority Business Council, we're always heavily into educating and bringing awareness to opportunities within the city, making sure that they did 2 programs each year, and that was to educate entrepreneurs, business owners, small business owners, just about educational opportunities and opportunities within the city. And then also held another function in the fall that brought, it was more of like a seminar or a business extravaganza that brought many, many sponsors, many other stakeholders together. And, information was disseminated to kind of educate business owners. So, that's kind of what they did in a nutshell. Also, making sure that, they kept abreast of the accounting mechanisms and procedures for ensuring that minority business or SWAM business owners, the number of contracts that they did receive, they made sure that accounting was intact, that we had the right, or the city of Virginia Beach had the right computation and statistics and data, so that when we went back to look for the data and to pull it on business owners, SWAM business owners, what were the results? So they also work heavily in the area.
Good. I'm going to follow up that, because one of the questions that was sent to us was that I see that you had the Ignite series for adults.
Yeah.
Have you considered expanding to the youth in Hampton Roads? The Bennett Center wants to recognize that there are a lot of great young entrepreneurs around the city of Virginia Beach. So I went to a number of the Ignite events. They're for youth, and do you have plans for to have some Ignite events for youth? What are your thoughts?
Certainly, I love business owners and entrepreneurs of all ages, because it's something about the work ethic of a small business owner and a local business owner and an entrepreneur. Every day they have to get up. They have to pay their bills. They have to send their children to school. They have to do what it takes to keep life going. And they're a huge service to our community. And without them, actually, I don't think we would be the great community that we are in Virginia Beach. So absolutely, I this year would like to expand. One of the areas I would like to expand is to have a night business series for, students, young entrepreneurs. And so that's something that I'm looking into doing this year. We'll probably hold it at one of the local universities in the area, maybe ODU, maybe Regent, and have our young business owners come out and, just kind of talk to them about what they do. Because a lot of times, people don't understand that side hustle, that side business that they may do can actually become a business, a formal business for you, and bring in some revenue for you, and actually can be a sustainer for you. So I'd love to get out in the community and work with our young business entrepreneurs as well. So stay tuned. There will be a program for our young entrepreneurs.
Okay, good stuff. Brother Conrad, my comrade, do you have a question for the council member? Unmute yourself, good brother. We want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, I got a couple. I think I had one for Mr. Jose regarding the. Is he still here?
Yes, sir, I am. On that question, we're going to do a second shout out for We Care Salon and Cafe on 4676 Princess Anne Road in Virginia Beach. And also, subset of Mother Owns We Care Business by Gemalyn Hewlett. Councilwoman Wooten, the city went into tremendous crunch with COVID-19, and it's still going on. The budget recently passed with modifications. Can you touch on what went down and maybe what you wish occurred to the city budget but did not?
So that's a great question, and I think I will always, actively look at ways to do things better, to save the citizens of Virginia Beach money within the budget, and just to create the services that our citizens need for a very, a great price for them. So, within our budget, we faced, and as we do every year, we face, issues with budget cuts. But this year, particularly with the COVID-19 crisis, we had to really focus on relief because we have citizens who are not working. And they may not have the wherewithal to take care of normal utilities, stormwater fees, and things of that nature. So we looked at making sure that we provided, number one, relief in that area. We have a relief fund, and if you feel that you're eligible, you reach out to the city of Virginia Beach and let them know the hardship that you're having. And that budget, that relief fund was created specifically to help citizens in this time of need with fees. We also looked at the personal property tax and other tax assessments to delay the dates to pay those taxes, and to hold that penalty so that residents wouldn't have to pay that penalty. There was a huge cut that we had to make within our school system. There's over $20 million that the school had to cut out of their budget. That saddens me because I wish that we could have used that money to ensure that our students receive the equity that they need in resources in school, and to also take care of the raises for our teachers. So in that budget, there's several programs, even dealing with school infrastructure that had to be, cut because of COVID-19 to ensure that, we were able to be prepared for the impact that we will see later on that from COVID-19. We had a chance to also provide some relief for our business owners. We were able to put in the EDIP grant for business owners if they're experiencing or need added funding for their rent that they have to pay, taking care of their employees. You can apply for a grant with the city of Virginia Beach, and that will provide some relief to our business owners. So relief was really the key. Though we had to cut, several millions of dollars from the school budget, that's something that I would not have liked to see happen. It's regrettable. But I'm hoping that in the coming years that we can really work on increasing funding to our schools and education, and ensure that our teachers have and staff have the raises that they need. Also, I'd like to really mention as well, the City of Virginia Beach staff. There was a increase or raise for the city staff. And I did not want that to be cut from the budget because, as many of you know, City of Virginia Beach staff, many of them are on the front lines working every day through the crisis and pandemic. I did not want to cut that increase to them. And so I was able, and along with other council members who felt the same way, were able to say, listen, let's not cut it now. Let's just look at it in the beginning of the year and the coming year, and see how we can address their hard work and still provide them with an increase. Because I believe, the staff who do the work, that you may see the Ignite Business Series, you may see several other programs going on, but without our city staff, that work wouldn't be done. And so I think it's critical that we make sure we take care of our staff.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Brother Conrad, I know you had a great question.
Yeah, indeed. Councilwoman, we've seen each other for a couple of years now, and especially me going to council to address numerous issues. And the one that sticks out to me, and the one I want to fight for the most, is flood mitigation. And you have great experience with mediation. In fact, you are a state of Virginia Supreme Court mediator. And on that vein, I'm curious if you'd like to use such mediation skills in Richmond, in DC, to help Virginia Beach get supplemental flooding funding and reduce red tape holding Virginia Beach up for mitigation construction.
I think that's excellent. An excellent idea, Conrad. I did serve for many years as a certified Virginia Supreme Court mediator. And one of the things that you have to do is you have to do a lot of listening. And though you don't make the decision or you don't craft the solution, you help to try to bring people to a consensus of what we can do. And I think it would be effective to use in the General Assembly and at the federal level, because that's where we're really lacking. We're lacking in funding. We're lacking in support from the state and the federal government, so much so that, several members of city council say, listen, we have to forget the state and the federal government in terms of expecting resources, because we're fighting with local resources here. That's what we have available. However, as you state, Conrad, there's still a fight to be had for the state and federal funding. You just have to go after it, and you have to be consistent in going after it. And you can never you can just never stop, focusing on that area. So yes, I certainly would love to engage at that level. One of the things that I did when I came on city council was the American Flood Association. They actually, it's the American Flood Coalition. They actually do just what we're talking about now. They work with different municipalities. They work on the federal level, and they find resources and funding at that level to give to localities. And so I proposed a resolution for us to become a member of that organization so that we could actually become more robust in advocating for funding at the federal level, using that federal platform to say, hey, we're a part of this coalition. We're here to stay, and we don't want you to pass us by when it comes to funding. I've reached out to some of our U.S. representatives, and I have asked that question: how can you help us with funding? And unfortunately, the answer has always been, that's very expensive. We don't necessarily have the funding to provide you with just now. But that response doesn't mean we'll never get it. It just means that you have to be consistent, and you have to come back, and you have to keep asking. Because at some point, as you keep knocking on that door, you keep asking, you'll get exactly what you need. And I'm optimistic. I believe as we continue to keep the conversation going, as we continue to work with coalitions like the American Flood Coalition, that we'll get the resources we need at the federal level and at the state level.
Good, good, good. A lot of times politicians like to run against something. They're constantly critiquing such and such and, build their campaigns around those things. But I want to know what's good in Virginia and what's good in Virginia Beach. So what are some of the things that are going well? Because we talk a lot about things we need to change. What's going good in Virginia? What's going good in Virginia Beach?
Well, you know what I can say, and that's an excellent question because, as I mentioned, I like to be optimistic. I like to look at the positive things. I hear about negativity all the time. And so when you see something going good, you're right, you want to talk about it. So I would say in Virginia as a whole, as a state, listen, we're fighting an invisible enemy in the COVID-19 pandemic. We can't see what we're fighting, but it's a real enemy because it's claiming a substantial amount of lives in our region and in our city. And so what I've seen is a regional effort where I see different entities working together, sharing data, sharing information to make sure that, we have the PPE supplies we need to be prepared, that we have adequate testing that's available for people who need that, that we work together regional to make sure we're going to open up our schools again. So I've seen a regional effort with different entities reaching out to one another, working together, and addressing, this whole pandemic that we have. That's a good thing because I can tell you, if you're in a crisis and you can't work together and you can't reach out to, your regional partner and get support, you have a devastating issue and challenge because you're not only in a crisis, now you can't work together and you can't get the help you need. But I do see that we're regionally, we are working together. That's a good thing. We're collaborating. And that helps us in the end. In the city of Virginia Beach, what I see is just resilience. From the time I came on to council, there was just one thing after another. We had leadership step down. The current mayor stepped down, just abruptly. So then, you had to pull the council together. You had to put new people in leadership. So that was you had to build momentum again, which we're still doing. Then we had the shooting, May 31st. That was huge. That was devastating, and the city of Virginia Beach, the residents, staff, elected officials, that was a time it stunned us. But I saw resilience. I saw people come together. We cried together, we mourned the loss. Then we got back up and we kept going. And so I see what's good with us is that we're resilient. We move forward. We keep going. No matter how many bumps we take, we know we can't stop. We know we have to keep going. So I see that that's a great characteristic within our city. And even with the pandemic, it came from out of nowhere, and we realized we had to, regroup. We had to come up with a plan and we had to move forward. And we have some great people, on our staff. We have great people within our city, and we all realize we got to work together. We want our city to be open. We got to work together, and we got to keep moving forward. So I see resilience within our city.
Okay. We have a question from L. Allen. What are the current plans for the 264 East corridor from Newtown and Wichita Road to the oceanfront?
That's a good question. And I can tell you, I don't have all the details on that particular project. The last thing that I heard about it is that it was going forward. That's a plan that we haven't changed. Now, depending on how the budget is impacted, you may see some, I don't know specifically about this project, but you could see some delays in some of this in some of our infrastructure and some of the transportation issues and things that we're working on, and maybe even with this particular project. If you send me your information to my email address at wootensabrina@gmail.com, I will specifically ask for an update, and I will provide you with specific details on that.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay, and then we have one more question. How will these East 264 corridor from Newtown Witch Duck to the oceanfront plans impact the neighborhoods south of 264 East, like Glen Haven Woods, Doylestown, and SeaTac?
Yeah, and again, with that question, what I'm thinking, without having the specifics on and the details, I'm thinking you're probably going to see maybe an increase or decrease with the traffic. Maybe you see better traffic flow, depending on the details. But again, if you send me that information to Sabrina, or excuse me, wootensabrina@gmail.com, I can get you more specific details on that, so that I'm not just telling you, something in general. I want to get you some specific details on that.
Good deal. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. It looks like we have another comment that came in from one of our viewers. Kevin asks, is there anything specific you would like to say to aspiring political office members?
That's a great question.
Okay.
What I would say, and particularly to our young generation, find a cause that you can get behind and go for it. Research it, count up the costs associated with it. But we need to hear your voice. If, there was something mentioned before about being at the table. Listen, if you're not at the table, if you're not a part of the policy and the conversation, then what you're looking for, what you're fighting for, is not being represented. So if you believe that there's an issue out there that, you must address, I would say get involved, do everything you can, educate yourself about the process, and then go for it. I think for me, from the 9th grade, I always had a thought I wanted to do something, but it was exactly, when do you do it? And how do you do it? When do you get out there? And I think if you have a love to, and you're aspiring to be in politics, never let that desire and that passion go away. Go for it. Do what you have to do to run, no matter what the odds are. Sometimes the odds may seem against you. The challenges may seem that they're against you. But guess what? If it is for you to win, you will win, whether you have the money or not. Whether you have all the connections or not. It's what's inside you, what's inspiring you to get out there. That's what you need. And then the rest of those things, they may come alongside to support you. But if it's for you, you'll get it. So I love people who have aspirations to go out and serve politically, because we need you. We need you out there. We need your voice. We need your perspective. And so, yes, I'd encourage you, never let that die. Go for it.
Okay. We have a very diverse city with a lot of diverse thoughts. We have the Tea Party. We have the Libertarian Party here. We have the Democrat Party here. We have the Republican Party here. How do you, as a council member, juggle such disparate at times viewpoints? And how do you pull the golden information out of those viewpoints? Because I'm sure it can be very polarizing at some points.
Mm-hmm. One thing I can say, and being a mediator, and that was a skill set that I think a lot of people wanted to see on council, which really helped in my first campaign effort. With mediation, I'm going to say 90% of the time you're listening. You're not trying to think of what your comeback is going to be. You're not trying to figure out how to solve everything. What you're doing is you're listening. And as you're listening to the different viewpoints, you're saying, okay, we don't agree here. We don't agree here. They don't like my, idea here. I may not, totally understand. But what happens is you listen to all these different perspectives, and everyone's passionate, as they should be. However, what you do as you're listening, you're seeing what areas you can agree on. We might not agree on the actual process of getting to goal A, but guess what? We all want to get there. So I might be able to take bits and pieces from this side, that side, the other side. Will we all agree? Probably not. It's like the ingredients of a cake. You got all these different ingredients. They don't all look alike, and they don't seem like they could all work together to create something beautiful, but they all are in the mix. All of these ideas and differences, they're all in the mix. You listen to them, you don't all agree, but I guess the culmination of all those perspectives is we know we got to get to point A, and we're going to work together to get to point A. No matter which way it goes, or if my way is right or your way is right, that may not be the goal, but the goal for us is to get to point A. So wherever we can find consensus and build, that's what we do. And so for me, I've come in contact with people who don't share my views, and that's okay. My goal is to listen to everyone's viewpoint, and I think that's what people want. At the end of the day, people want you to listen. They don't want you to discount their suggestion or their solution, because oftentimes I do hear solutions when I'm listening to people. They want you to listen and to be thoughtful about, whatever their issue is, and to at least try to help them, solve the problem, because that's what it really is. We're trying to solve problems, and we're trying to come up with some solutions. And you don't always have one perspective when you're coming up with a solution. It varies. There are quite a few perspectives that you have to address when you come up with a solution.
What seems to be the most passionately expressed position that comes to you frequently?
Well, you know what? Probably one of those passionate positions would be, why do we do things the same way all the time? Can we do things differently? I think that's probably what I hear quite a bit of. We don't want to see the same thing over and over again. Try something different, try a different perspective. Don't always look at, say, for instance, like at the ocean front. Some people say, why are you always focused on the ocean front? Why don't you focus on the rest of the city? What else can we do with the rest of our city? Bring resources to the rest of our city. Don't just send those resources to the ocean front. I hear that quite a bit.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Brother Conrad.
Well, I would like to go up a little back on the previous question about what's going good, and I do know that the Centerville representative is doing pretty well in office. So I'm glad that she was on to come on tonight. And speaking of Centerville, is there any particular project that you might want to try to help usher in over the next year or so in Centerville?
Oh, absolutely. Centerville is District 1. And my goal is making sure that Centerville is a priority. Quite a few of my constituents, they feel that they've been left behind. They don't feel like Centerville is a priority. And one of the areas that concern them is having a recreational center. Every other district has a recreational center, except for Centerville. And so, as I came into office, that's one of the first things people ask me, where is our recreational center? And so oftentimes, you can see why some people feel like they're, they've been put on the back burner. But, my answer to them is, listen, when I came into office, I had a few things on my list, but that particular recreation center was at the top of my list one of the first meetings I had was with our director of Rex, the director of the recreational center. We sat down, we talked, and I said, listen, constituents are asking for a recreational center. What can we do? They've been told that, not now. Maybe there's not enough, need. There's not the need has not been great to have one in Centerville, but that's not true. And so what I did was I asked them, what can we do? And so we had a study. A study was done to actually confirm what we already know. We need a recreational center in Centerville. And so the study came back confirming that. And now we're going to actually start putting, and I've requested money in the budget. So there's money in the budget for a Centerville Recreation Center. Now we have to continue to raise other funds for the Recreation Center, and we have to find a place that's going to serve the Centerville district residents.
Interesting. It's good to know that we're using a lot of data-driven decisions in our city.
Yeah,
that's excellent. All right, last words. We're at the very end of our time with you. Last words. Oh, well, my last words would be, listen, 2020, November 3rd is coming up. It's re-election time. I came in office where I only had a 2-year office, or 2-year term, not even 2 years really. But I was slated to finish the 2-year term of Bob Dyer, who's now a current mayor. In 2020, I'll be up for re-election. Listen, there's been a lot of great work that I've started, that I've worked with council on, and that the residents want to see go forward, from education to working with our local businesses, addressing flooding, addressing human trafficking within our city, and also ensuring that public safety members are not dealing with compression issues and they're being paid what they're worth. And so I need your support on November 3rd to come back for another term of 4 years so I can finish the work that I started. I can't do it without your support. So if you have questions, feel free to go to sabrinawooten.com. Contact me at wootensabrina@gmail.com, or you can reach me at 757-797-5625. I'm happy to answer your questions. Great. Hopefully one of our great can put that in the chat. Jose.
Yes, sir. I can't hear you.
Any last words, brother? Last words, good brother?
I thank you for your time this evening. And I don't have any questions, but thank you for your time and thank you for your answers.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, council member. All right. So, gentlemen, another great show. Hey, we had a comment that just came in.
Did we?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, we got some support. We have support.
There you go.
Oh, no, I bet that was for her. That was for her. I don't think she supports me.
No.
All right, gentlemen. So, hey, another great show is in the bag. And, hey, this is the Beach Brothers Show. I'm Seko Varner, your educator, serial entrepreneur. This thing next to me is our beast of the insurance guy. This is Jose Cruz, 757 Insurance Man. And on the very end, can you believe this? This guy loves Virginia Beach so much. He wants to do what Councilwoman did and gets on city council. I can't believe that. Hey, if you're interested in joining the show, get in contact with Conrad. Conrad does all the bookings for the seated politicians and the candidates. If you're interested in having your business highlighted, get in contact with the insurance dude, 757 Insurance Man, Jose Cruz. His information is in the discussion in the chat. I'm Seko Varner, and hey, thank you for listening. Any last words, gentlemen?
Happy Memorial Day. It's coming up.
It's coming up. All right. Hey, happy Memorial Day en español, Jose. Oh, you got to think about it? Oh, no.
I was on mute.
Yo, Felice what, man? Felice what? Felice K. He muted himself again. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, hey, we love y'all.
Feliz
Take
Dia
care.
de Memoria.